What if one day you thought you just needed N4, but you were getting ready to leave this world? They told me I was just dehydrated. Maybe from a virus. Nothing serious. I nodded, relieved, thinking, okay, so I'll get some fluids, go home, and have dinner like any normal night. That was the plan. But now, looking back, I can't help but wonder how many people walk into a hospital thinking they'll walk back out, only to never leave again. What if a day you dismiss as ordinary ends up being the one that carries you across the threshold between life and something you can't even name? My name is Bennett. I was 17. I lived in a small town nestled between the mountains of Utah, where the sky stretched wide and blue, and every morning sunlight poured through the kitchen window like warm honey. I was a healthy kid, or at least I thought I was. I hiked, played piano, and kept a journal. Life was so peaceful, I sometimes forgot that peace can be just a thin layer of mist. It all started with subtle signs. I was tired, a lot tired in a way that felt like I was carrying sandbags inside me. I had no appetite. Occasionally, there'd be a faint pinch in my chest. But I brushed it off like so many people do when their body is trying to speak. Until one morning, I couldn't get up. I collapsed on the bathroom floor, throwing up over and over again. Every 3 minutes, like clockwork. My dad, a doctor, carried me to the car and drove like his hands were shaking. No one said the word death. In the ER, they tried to find a vein. Needle after needle, failure after failure. My body was so dry, my skin turned dark and bruised like someone had sketched me in charcoal. They rushed me to a bigger hospital. I still remember the wheels of the stretcher rattling across the tile floor, the steady beep of machines, the fluorescent lights above flickering like a trapped fly inside a glass jar. That sound still gives me chills. My dad told the nurse, "This is my daughter. I need you to take her seriously." She nodded, gave a polite smile. But in her eyes, I saw something like she had already labeled me. Young girl, dehydrated, she'll be fine. They started the 4. I closed my eyes, hoping the fluids would help. But they didn't. Something was off. Deeply off. A heavy, creeping sensation slid into my chest. It wasn't pain. It was the eerie feeling that my heart no longer belonged to me. It thudded wildly, out of rhythm, like it was either running away from something or searching for something I couldn't name. The doctors were growing tense. I could hear their hushed voices, irregular heartbeat, no response. Then a nurse leaned down and whispered in my ear, her hand trembling slightly, "We need to shock your heart." But no one told me that just seconds later, I would be leaving my body. No one said that some people don't feel pain when they die. They feel peace. And then something else. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because before the light, before the stillness, before the question that would change everything, I was still there. In a room filled with wires, machines, and cold fluorescent light. Surrounded by people who had no idea they were about to witness someone cross over to the other side. And I didn't know either. Not yet. But the veil between the two worlds had already begun to thin. What happened right after they shocked my heart isn't found in any medical textbook. I'll tell you about the moment I left my body and saw myself still lying there, like an empty shell in the middle of the emergency room. If you could see yourself lying motionless, not breathing, then who are you? I don't remember the sound of the first shock. I don't know how my body reacted or what it looked like when the light sparked across my chest as they pressed the button. I just remember silence. Not the kind you hear in a quiet room, but absolute silence. Like someone had turned off the entire sound of the world. I could no longer feel my body. No bed. No skin. No weight. No heartbeat. Only awareness. Pure consciousness. I was still me, but I didn't belong there anymore. And then, I saw myself, lying right there, on the bed, pale, eyes shut tight. Machines are blaring around me. Someone was shouting something. A doctor leaned over, performing chest compressions while shaking his head. I didn't understand. I just knew. That girl was me, but I was no longer her. What I felt wasn't fear. It wasn't surrender either. It was something strange and peaceful, almost impossibly peaceful. Like I had finally set down something heavy I'd been carrying since the day I was born. No hunger. No pain. No thoughts of trying. I just was. I drifted gently toward the ceiling. No winds. No motion. Just floating. Watching the room I used to exist in. I saw people rushing back and forth, their faces pale with panic. I saw my father being pushed out the door. He was shouting something, but I couldn't hear it. I only saw the way his lips trembled. I wanted to hold him, but I had no hands. I wanted to cry, but I had no tears. And I wondered, is this what death is? Not as terrifying as I had always imagined. There was no fire, no shadows, only a distance, a quiet, final separation. Like waking up from a dream you didn't know you were dreaming. And then everything changed. I was no longer in that room. No more ceiling. No more lights. No more doctors. It all dissolved into a perfect black. A darkness without shape. But it wasn't scary. I wasn't standing. I wasn't sitting. I wasn't lying down. I simply was. Existing in a space with no beginning, no end. And I waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. But something was coming. Something I could sense in a vague, almost primal way. Something I didn't dare name. I wondered, is this my soul? Or just the residue of memory? If my body were still lying in that hospital room, then what exactly was I thinking now? I didn't have an answer. But in that moment, one truth became crystal clear to me. We are not our bodies. We're not our thoughts either. We are something deeper, something pure, something no textbook ever teaches you. I thought I had reached the end. But this was only the threshold. In the next part, I'll tell you about the moment I first crossed into the other side and the strange encounter I had with a formless voice that asked me a question so profound it shook my entire soul. Are you ready to let go? If a voice from the light asked you, are you ready to let go? How would you answer? I don't know how long I drifted in the darkness. There was no clock, no ticking, no sense of time, just a thick, infinite black, like the universe had closed its eyes and exhaled. And I, a faint point of light, floated quietly through that endless stillness. I thought it was the end. But then it happened. There was no flash of light, no thunder, no angelic trumpet, just a gentle wave of energy, soft and subtle, like ripples spreading across a deep lake. And then I heard it, not with my ears, but with everything I was. A voice. It wasn't male or female. It had no pitch, no form. But every word echoed with a clarity that felt carved into my soul. Are you ready to let go? I didn't understand. Let go of what? I had already left my body. I had already left the world. I had lost everything. What more was there to release? The voice didn't respond. Only silence. And in that silence, I began to see. Not with eyes, but with a deeper awareness. I saw my childhood. A short film playing in reverse. I was sitting on a little wooden stool in the kitchen, while my mother tied a pink ribbon in my hair. I saw myself crying at school for the first time when a friend betrayed me. I saw my father's hand gently rest on my shoulder the day I didn't make the team. Moments primes tu tide forgotten. Moments I once dismissed now shine like gold sifted from the sand. I saw all the things I missed. I saw the times I lost my temper over nothing, the words I used to hurt others, the hugs I never gave. I saw that I had been alive, but hadn't truly lived. And then the voice returned softer now, deeper. Love does not disappear. But did you choose it in every moment? I said nothing. For the first time, my soul felt exposed. No masks. No excuses. No pretending to be strong. Just the truth. I still don't know what that place was. It wasn't heaven. It wasn't hell. Maybe it was the in-between. A space for souls not yet decided. A pause between departure and return. And in that weightless space, I felt the light. Not a physical light, but something radiant from within. It wasn't blinding. It wasn't threatening. It simply wrapped around me like a soft blanket. In that light, there was no right or wrong. No guilt. No punishment. Only understanding. A deep, soul-level knowing that everything is a choice. And I, moment by moment, had forgotten to choose love. I wanted to ask that voice so many things. About what comes after death. About the people I loved. About the meaning behind it all. But before I could speak, it whispered one final time. Your journey isn't over. And then the light began to fade. Not like a switch being turned off, but like it was gently stepping back, handing the decision over to me. I thought I had died, but what I was being given was a chance to choose again. Next, I'll share with you what happened after that, a final conversation with the soul of the light, where I was faced with the greatest decision of all, to return or to leave forever. If you were given the choice to leave forever, but your heart still held someone you hadn't yet said, I love you to, would you return? The light began to fade. Not disappear, just step back like it was waiting. Not forcing, not persuading, just patiently present as if to say, the choice is yours. I remained there, in that neutral space between two realms. No time, nobody, no pain, but also nothing left to hold on to. I didn't see my mother. I didn't see my father. I heard no voices calling me back. It was just me and the choice. I thought, why go back? My body felt like it was sinking into thick mud, and every tiny movement made me want to scream. Everything hurt, yet felt strangely distant, like I had slipped into a body that didn't quite belong to me. I couldn't speak. I couldn't fully open my eyes. But I could hear. The first sound I remember was the sound of heavy breathing, mixed with quiet sobs. Someone was crying. Then a voice broke through, trembling like a drop of water about to fall. "Claire, sweetheart. It's Mom." I knew it was her. And in that moment, my tears came without needing to know how much of my body still worked. I wasn't crying from pain. I cried because I had truly come back. Back to where my mother's voice still existed, where the air still carried the sterile scent of antiseptic, where my heart was still beating thanks to machines. And in all of that, I could feel that something miraculous was happening. The doctors were stunned. The nurses whispered, "She's awake." I can't believe it. This is a miracle. But I knew it wasn't luck. It was a choice. And it was I who made it. The days that followed moved like time itself had to learn how to walk again. I had to relearn how to chew, how to sit up, how to move my arms. My body was as fragile as a newborn's. Every small motion was a battle. And yet, strangely, I wasn't angry. I wasn't hopeless. What I felt instead was a nameless gratitude. I was alive, and that was enough. I remember once, during therapy, a nurse half joked and half wondered aloud, "Do you remember anything? From when you were out?" I looked at her, paused for a moment, and softly said, "I do. But there are no words for it. How do you explain a place where language doesn't exist? How do you describe a question that echoes through light? How do you help someone understand that sometimes dying is the moment you truly begin to live?" I carry it all inside me now, like a small flame, not to boast, not to preach, but simply to light my way. During the days I lay motionless, I thought a lot about my mom, about my dad, about my friends, about the times I was distant and indifferent, the hugs I turned away, the apologies I never said. I was no longer the 17-year-old girl who believed she had an entire lifetime ahead of her. I was the girl who had touched death and realized life isn't as long as we think. I started keeping a journal, not to remember, but to slow down. I began writing down the smallest details, the way the light streamed through the window, the sound of birds at 5 in the morning, the scent of rain still clinging to the leaves. Everything familiar suddenly felt sacred. What I once took for granted now felt like a miracle. I had come back, but I wasn't the same Claire anymore. What you're about to see is what life looks like after waking up, and how a girl who brushed against death learned to love every single moment she's been given. The hardest part wasn't waking up from the coma. It was learning how to live again when I was no longer the same person. People called me a miracle. The doctors looked at me like an unsolvable case. Local media wanted to do interviews. Acquaintances whispered words behind my back like blessed, and came back from the dead. But they didn't understand. I didn't just survive. I came back changed. Changed in the way I saw the light. Changed the way I listened to someone speak. Changed in how I felt the air in my lungs, the scent of earth after rain, the soft rustle of wind through the curtains. It was as if everything had been reprogrammed, sharpened, magnified, and made sacred in a way that caught in my throat. But after the honeymoon phase of the miracle, life began to test me. I told a few loved ones about what I experienced on the other side. About the light, about the voice, about the question, "Are you ready to let go?" The reactions were mixed. My mom held me tightly and said nothing. My dad just nodded gently, avoiding my eyes. One of my closest friends gave a small laugh, probably just the anesthesia talking. I wasn't angry, but I was sad. Some things only make sense after you've touched death, and some things can't ever be fully explained in words. There were nights I cried without knowing why. A strange emptiness in the middle of life itself, as if part of the light I once touched was still calling to me from afar. There were moments I silently wondered, did I come back? Or am I just living inside a dream? I didn't turn to a therapist. I turned to nature. I would sit for hours beneath the old pine tree behind our house, my hand resting over my heart, the same heart that had once stopped. Every beat felt like a miracle, every breath a gift. I wrote letters to myself. I wrote thank you notes to the place I once went, not expecting a reply, just to remind myself, I'm still here. And then one day, I decided to write down the whole story, not to convince anyone to believe me, but to connect. I wrote it all, every line, every feeling, every moment beyond the veil. And when I shared it, I expected nothing. But the response came like a wave. Hundreds of messages. From people who had lost children. From people who had nearly drowned. From people who had never experienced anything unusual, but found themselves crying as they read each word. I don't know why, but I felt something real in what you wrote. Thank you. I'm not as afraid of dying anymore. I'm going to call my mom tonight. I sat there, reading in silence. And in that stillness, I realized maybe this is why I came back. Not to live for myself, but to awaken someone who's been sleepwalking through their own life. From that point on, I started sharing my story with small groups. In classrooms, at community gatherings. There was a time I stood on stage, my hands trembling, my voice barely steady. But when I reached the part where I heard my mother crying while I was unconscious, the entire room fell silent. And in that silence, I knew what I went through wasn't meaningless. My new life hasn't been easy, but it's real. It's deep. It's full of color. I've learned how to forgive, not others but myself. For the years I lived half awake. For the love I didn't express. For the moments I took for granted. I've learned to love without needing a reason. Simply because I'm still alive to love. And this journey isn't over. Before I close, I'll share with you the greatest lesson my near-death experience taught me, and why I believe that anyone can be reborn, even if they've never come close to dying. I once died, but what changed me wasn't the death, it was what I saw on the other side. Someone asked me, if you had the choice, would you go through it again? I stayed silent for a long time. Not because it was hard to answer, but because that question reminded me of the one truth that matters most. I didn't survive to continue the same life. I came back to begin a different one. On the other side of the light, no one asked me what my grades were, how many followers I had on social media, or whether I was successful enough. They only asked me one thing. Did you live fully? And I hadn't. I used to live in a rush. Lived to please others. Lived without really knowing what it meant to feel alive. But when death came, it didn't come with noise or warning. It came quietly and stripped everything away. Left me bare. Honest. Light. And that's when I saw the truth. Life is short. Too short to go to bed angry. Too short to wait for the perfect moment to hug someone you love. Too short to live halfway. Many people fear death, but I fear something else, living without ever having truly felt alive. You know, after I came back, I learned something incredibly simple. Every time you laugh from the heart, you're healing someone. Every time you forgive, you're cutting a rope that's been choking your soul. Every time you're fully present, not judging, not distracted, you're doing the very thing the light did for me on the other side, listening completely. If you're watching this and you feel stuck, empty, or lost, I just want you to know you don't have to die to be reborn. You just have to pause, listen, and begin again with this very breath. Because sometimes a touch to the heart is just as powerful as a shock to the chest. Because sometimes you don't need a miracle. You just need a choice. Just like I chose to come back, you can choose to live differently starting today. And if you ask me, what did you see beyond the veil? I'll answer you with the question the light once asked me. Are you ready to let go? Because maybe every true beginning comes after a moment of surrender. At the beginning, I said, I saw something during my coma, something I had never shared with anyone. Now you know what it was. It wasn't a vision of heaven. It wasn't some supernatural mystery. It was awakening. It was a choice. And it was love, pure, complete, unconditional. The only thing I could carry with me, even through death. If you're still here, listening to this final moment, then maybe, somewhere inside you, there's something that has brushed against the unexplainable too. A moment near death. A dream that shook you awake. A time when you almost lost someone, or even yourself. I've shared my story not to be believed, but so that someone out there might recognize themselves in it. And now, I want to invite you to share the rest of this story, your story. Leave a comment below. Have you ever experienced something that changed the way you see life? Have you ever had a moment, even a fleeting one, that made you feel, I've just been awakened? Whether it's a sentence, a memory, or just a feeling, I'm listening. And I know many others are too. Because maybe, just maybe, your story will reach someone who's still searching for a reason to stay.